Good morning. Welcome to Thursday's edition of SCSA. My name is Joanne Davis and I'm a safety advisor out of the Regina office. I want to go through a couple of housekeeping items before we get going. This webinar is being recorded. It is also available for viewing on Facebook Live and will be available for later viewing on YouTube and Facebook as well. We do ask when it comes time to ask questions that you would put your questions in the Q&A feature. Any of our links will be posted in the comments. So let's get started. We are going to introduce our panelists today. Let's start with Jarya.
Morning, everyone. My name is Jarya Samrath, and I'm a safety trainer out of the Saskatoon office.
Roger.
Good morning. My name is Roger Burial with the Program Services Department. I'm a program auditor out of Regina office.
Thank you, Roger. Kelly?
I'm Kelly Champagne, and I'm the Program Services Manager looking after the core CCOR, NCSO, and HSA programs.
Mike?
Morning. Mike Moore out of the Saskatoon office. I am a safety advisor.
And Justin?
Justin Brooks, Regina Safety Advisor.
Thank you, Justin. Now we're going to go and have a couple updates from our departments. Let's start with Jarya with training.
The SCSA training unit is working very diligently to offer more courses, and some of these courses that are now available do include safety management, contractor, safety admin, confined space training, OHC level 1, and we have newly added very highly requested courses, fall protection, leadership for safety excellence, and safety auditor. During this time, the proficiencies are still accepted, expected, and corrected as they were previously. There are additional courses and dates that will become available in the coming weeks. As usual, spot availability for these courses are limited. So to sign up or check what courses may become available or the schedule for them, you can contact our office or visit us online at scsaonline.ca. We are using Zoom as a platform for these courses. We do send links for documentation and additional information via email. So this is going to include the registration process, any legislative information, and prerequisites for the courses as well. So it's strongly recommended that a computer with audio and visual capabilities are used to take these instructor-led online courses. It may take time to get used to, and we understand that as an organization to be able to maneuver the program properly. So we do provide technical support prior to the course starting and throughout the duration of the course as well. These courses are still accredited toward all of your designations and certifications, and they will be issued just as they would have been in class training. So please visit us online for continued updates.
Thank you, Jarya. And Kelly with Program Services.
I'm going to speak on behalf of myself and Roger here, representing Program Services. We've got some exciting news. As of June 15th, we are going to begin doing core audits once again. We had started at the beginning of May doing CCOR audits. We're doing these remotely using digital documentation and video conferencing, and it's gone very well, and we are now going to expand that to include the core audits. It will be a little bit of a modified audit, and it's going to take a little bit of organizing, and we're just finessing and putting the final details, the icing on the cake. So I'm not going to reveal too many details as to exactly how this is going to work, but our plan right now is to work through everyone who has audits currently booked with us for the months of June and July. Those will be in contact with those companies, and we will be letting them know what the requirements are and how we will be modifying how we traditionally do an audit to accommodate these new circumstances. And then following that, we have quite a backlog of audits as well. We're going to proceed to working through those one at a time, taking a look and contacting each company on an individual basis. So we're all excited to be getting back to doing what we do best. And I know Roger had a smile on his face when we made that announcement. So we're looking forward to getting back out there and helping our clients out.
Kelly, those are exciting updates. So we have training underway. We have audits coming up and running again, getting that process. That is awesome. So now we are going to go back to our advisory services. We do have a presentation on blind spots. So we're going to talk a little bit about equipment on construction sites, highway, regular vehicles, maybe into some recreational vehicles. And presenting this will be Mike Moore.
Thanks, Joanne. We'll just get the presentation loaded up here. Okay, like Joanne was saying, I'd like to do a little presentation here on on-site and off-site blind spots. So seeing the big picture. A blind spot in a vehicle is an area around the vehicle that cannot be directly observed by a driver while at the controls. Under existing circumstances, blind spots can be caused by a plethora of different things like the height of the driver, the windshield and dashboard reflections, light coming through the roof, and other automobile and power mobile equipment design factors, like the location of safety bars, booms, cages, and mirror placements. Also, A-pillar dimensions. Just a little explanation on A-pillars. They're the frame uprights located around the glass and add structural integrity to the vehicle and the roof system. When it comes to blind spots, there's always an area behind any vehicle where the driver just can't see what's there. The bigger the vehicle, the bigger the blind spot. Toddlers are just the right size to hide in a pickup or SUV's blind spot. The blind spot on an RV or tractor trailer can actually hide your crossover. You should always check behind any vehicle before getting in and backing up. And if you sit in the vehicle for a few minutes before backing up, it's best to get out and check again, especially if you're pulling out into a neighborhood driveway. No precaution is too extreme if it saves the life of a child. For the past 15 years, various car makers have been offering blind spot detection systems for their cars' side mirrors. Often complex, these systems employ cameras or radar to scan the adjoining lanes for vehicles that may have disappeared from your view. The Society of Automotive Engineers, the SAE, published a paper in 1995 suggesting how outside mirrors can be adjusted to eliminate blind spots. The paper advocates adjusting the mirrors so far outward that the viewing angle of the side mirror is just overlaps that of the cabin's rear view mirror. This can be disorienting for drivers used to seeing the flanks of their own car in the side mirrors, but when correctly positioned, the mirrors negate a car's blind spots. This can eliminate the need to glance over your shoulder and safely change lanes, as well as the need for expensive blind spot warning system. The only problem is getting used to the SAE recommended mirror position. The cabin's rearview mirror is used to keep an eye on what is coming up from behind, while the outside mirrors reflect the area outside the view of the inside rearview mirror. Those who have switched the SAE's approach swear by it. However, some drivers can't adjust to not using the outside mirrors to see directly behind the car and miss being able to see their own car in the side mirrors. When moving through the hierarchy controls, an approach such as this may aid the vehicle in already engineered blind spot detection system. Let's look at the diagram for a better understanding. When we look at the photo on the side deck, figure 1 shows the adjusted mirror that no longer shows the driver's blue car in view. Adjusted in the traditional manner, shown in figure 2, where you can see the driver's blue car, the red car disappears. If you look in figure 4, the mirror is pointed towards the blind spot. The outside mirror shows the green car as soon as it leaves the inside mirror, shown in figure 3. In the more traditional adjustment shown in figure 5, the outside mirror reflects some of what is also in the inside mirror, shown in figure 3. I hope everyone is able to follow along on that. In this demonstration, a man on the passenger side is approximately 35 feet from the vehicle. The blue bin is directly outside the passenger side door, and the yellow bin is approximately 10 feet from the door. The bin height information is important for the next few slides. As you can see inside the vehicle, from where the driver is seated, which is approximately 40 feet from the man outside the passenger side door, is completely hidden from view by the side mirror when looking 90 degrees outside the vehicle. You can also notice that both bins are outside of view. This type of blind spot can cause many incidents after getting in your vehicle after it being parked. Either something is placed outside your vehicle or you forgot about the item when you've parked beside completely. Either way, it's imperative to conduct a walk around before traveling and be aware of this type of blind spot. Here's another scenario using the same bins, but staggered in front of the passenger side wheel well. The man outside the vehicle is in the crouched position at a 45-degree angle to the truck. Here's your view from the inside. The bins have completely disappeared, and you can just make out the body of the man, keeping in mind this is a considerable distance. While almost all vehicles have blind spots, big rigs and semi-trucks are perhaps the most notorious for the size as well as the scope of the blind spots. Becoming educated on blind spots as well as being generally aware is crucial for overall driving safety. A good rule of thumb is to look in the trucker's mirror, and if you cannot see the driver's face and eyes, then they cannot see you either. And you may be in fact traveling in the trucker's blind spot. Even if you can see the driver, still do not assume that they see you. So we're going to go through some zones here. There's the front nose zone. This zone is located directly in the front of the cab of the truck. The area covers about 10 car lengths from the front of the cab. Truckers sit high up in comparison to other vehicles. This creates an inability to see the car directly in front of them. When passing, allow enough time to make it past the front nose zone before getting back in front of the truck. The right side nose zone. This zone is located behind the cab and to the right and is one of the biggest blind spots. When following on a multi-lane highway, allow at least one car length from the back of the truck's cargo. When passing, try to avoid staying in the nose zone area. Left side nose zone. This zone is located behind the cab and to the left and is about half the size of the right nose zone. If you're following in a multi-lane highway, allow at least one car length from the back of the truck's cargo. When passing, try to avoid staying in the nose zone area. So the back nose zone. This zone is located directly behind the trailer or cargo that a truck is carrying. The cab has no rear view mirror, so there's no way to see if someone is coming. It is tailgating directly behind them, and if ever had to stop immediately, this is one of the biggest blind spots on a truck. Again, a good preventative measure is to keep in mind that if you cannot see the trucker's face through the side or rear view mirror, they cannot see you. We're back into motorcycle season, and a motorcycle's blind spot area will vary depending on the motorcycle and the type of mirrors used. Some motorcyclists may have a blind spot mirrors fitted to aid in reducing the blind area. In general, however, most motorcycles will have blind spots to the sides and rear as indicated in the red shaded areas in the diagram. A combination of mirror checks and blind spot checks should always be performed so you know exactly what's going on behind you. Check blind spots, not only for your own safety, but the other road users before you signal or change direction. Although all drivers have the requirements to be cautious, riders must take extra steps to ensure their own safety. If a motorcyclist is involved in an accident, the likelihood is that his or her injuries will be much more serious. Some ways that motorcyclists can reduce the likelihood of being involved in a blind spot accident include: avoid riding in blind spots. This is the best way to avoid a blind spot accident. Ride in front or behind a vehicle, rather than to the side of the vehicle. A motorist blind spots included to the left and right rear of the vehicle. Try to stay out of these locations as much as possible. Understanding other drivers' mirror placement is important. Drive defensively. Constantly scan the area in front of you, back off to give yourself some extra space, and try to anticipate the actions of other motorists. Knowing who is in your zones around your vehicle at all times will make it much easier to react to an emergency situation, and also try to always leave yourself an open zone around you if possible to quickly move into if needed. Back off. Leave at least 20 feet between you and other motorists so that you have time to react. Wear brightly colored clothing. Make yourself more visible by wearing brightly colored or fluorescent clothing. Keep your headlights on. Improve visibility by using your headlights even when it's daytime and sunny. And pass a vehicle quickly. If you have to pass, do so quickly so that you're out of the blind spot as fast as possible. In Saskatchewan, this is a very common sight that we all have encountered at some point. With the long weekend approaching and seeding starting in Saskatchewan at the end of April until the middle of May, the highways may see some heavy equipment. Remember to be mindful around slow-moving farm equipment. Keep your distance until it's safe to pass. Different pieces of equipment have different blind spots, and many of them are very large. On highways, slow behind the machinery first before passing, and assess brake lights, signal lights, pilot truck movements, blind spots, etc. When behind large machinery on the highway, your view of oncoming traffic will also be greatly reduced. Assess the situation, give the other driver time to see you, and when safe to do so, make your pass. According to Tyler McCurchie, manager of media relations for SGI, there have been an average of about 250 to 300 collisions every May long in Saskatchewan over the past 3 years. In fact, long weekend collisions have resulted in 15 people dying and another 500 people injured each year. Even with the restrictions on available camping sites in Saskatchewan, there will still be many campers, boats, and RVs traveling on the highway and cities in the upcoming weeks and months. Vehicles must be equipped with proper mirrors to ensure the line of sight between them when hauling. However, depending on the size of equipment being hauled, there are still many sight issues created. Ensure you keep a safe distance away. If you must pass, keep in mind the length of the vehicle and the equipment being hauled. The larger the equipment, the larger the blind spot, and the longer it'll take you to pass. Every time we get in our vehicle, whether large or small, lies inherent risks of a collision. Managing the risk involves ensuring your vehicle is working properly, that you are trained and qualified, and you're in good mental and physical shape to operate the vehicle. Having said that, there are other things we can do to mitigate blind spots when operating a motor vehicle. While there's no cure-all to blind spots, there are methods for driving in a way that minimize potential accidents and maximizes driver range of vision. Here are some ways to avoid blind spots. Adjust the rear view mirror. Position your mirror so that it covers your straight back vision. Do not attempt to sit unnaturally or adjust to see better out of the mirror. Adjust the rear view mirror to how you naturally sit. Adjust driver's side mirror. Lean your head towards the driver's side mirror until almost touching the door glass. Once there, adjust your left side mirror so you can see the left side of your car partially. Adjust passenger side mirror. Lean your head towards the center of the car. Once there, adjust your right side mirror so you can see the right side of your car partially. Test your visibility when driving. When you're in a multi-lane traffic, pay attention to the cars passing you on either side and note where you can see them and where you cannot. Adjust your mirrors accordingly when safe to do so. You should also be looking over your shoulder before changing lanes or merging with traffic. Using your blinker so that other motorists can anticipate your actions and staying alert and aware of other motorists and motorcyclists that travel in your blind spots. Okay, now let's talk a little bit about on-site blind spots. Studies have confirmed that highway and street construction workers are at significant risk of fatal or serious non-fatal injuries while working in or around street, highway, construction job sites. The hazard has been clearly defined as the risk of injury from movement of construction vehicles and equipment within the work zones, as well as from passing motor vehicle traffic. In analyzing the data collected on fatalities and serious non-fatal injuries, researchers from the National Institute for Occupational Safety and Health, the NIOSH, have concluded that traffic control devices and job site management techniques alone will not completely eliminate the risk to workers. Furthermore, collision occurrences have been attributed in part to limited visibility around the equipment. Therefore, new technology is needed to help detect the presence of people in the direct path of construction equipment and then warn the operator of the impeding collision. In order to better help direct the development of the new technology, it is important to understand where current visibility limitations are around typical construction equipment. With this information, researchers can better perform worker exposure assessments across the different types and makes of construction equipment. Worker exposure data can then be used to help the appropriate technologies such as radar systems, radio signal detection systems, etc., that can help minimize the risk to workers. However, we must remember that not all power mobile equipment is fitted with such technology. So it's important to understand what operators can and cannot see. As you can see in this picture of a grader, and the grader, if you look at the very innermost picture of this diagram, you'll see the outline of the grader, and it centers around the operator's view. It has a very large mirror visibility out the back end of the machine. Having said that, due to the way the machine is shaped to perform its job, there's a very extended blind spot out the front of the machine, as well as 30 degrees towards the back of each side of the cabs. Each grader is different, although they look very similar. A grader with a 900 millimeter plane will have a much different field of view than one with a 1500 millimeter plane. Here's a shot from the inside of the grader. This shows the limited view of any obstructions out the front of the cab, as well as the cabin instrument panel that take up much of the vision. This picture demonstrates the visual challenges of being in an excavator. As you can see in the picture, the entire right side, so the bucket arm side, is a giant blind area, noted in gray. Even the open side to the left has an obstructed view of 10 meters and the front of the cab for 5 meters. Here's the view from inside the cab with the arm of the excavator tucked in. You can see between the arm and the counterweight how obstructed the view is. Here we have the front end loader with a push blade on the back. The blind spots within the cab on a front end loader are quite large. Out the front, certain areas extend far past the 5 meter blind spot in this graph. This is also dependent whether the bucket is up or down and the amount of material that's in the bucket. The sides and back have considerable blind spots, as well as due to rollover protection bars and the engine. This is a picture inside a compact wheel loader. As you can see in front of the bucket, there's a very large blind spot for anything that may be smaller than the bucket itself. The field of vision above the bucket is good. However, the elevation of the bucket is changed, so does the blind spot. In this graph, you can see the similarities of the blind areas with the dozer are close to that in the loader. The big difference is the large blind spot over the left shoulder rear of the dozer in this model. This is due to the operator and where they sit. On this specified model of dozer, the driver's view is obstructed by rollover protection and the pillars located inside the cab. There's a lot going on in the cabs of machinery. The difficulty of blind spots and the active construction sites with many moving parts and obstructions such as material storage, travelways, site infrastructure, other equipment, and workers in the area make visibility and communication essential. Skid steers are generally one piece of power mobile equipment that spends the most time on any given commercial site. There are many different attachments and sizes that offer different blind spots. However, one thing is usually the same when it comes to every skid steer, and that's the blind spot behind the machine. Due to the rollover protection, counterweight, engine, and size of the machine cab, it's very difficult to see behind a skid steer, even when the operator stops to look behind. Much like the loader, the blind spot in front changes when the bucket is lifted or lowered. The available view in front will be much different if the operator has a bucket on versus an auger. On the left is the picture out the front of the compact skid steer, and you can see the field of vision is rather limited. When the arms are up, even slightly, where the bucket is not obstructing the view of the front, a major blind spot is created out the sides of the arms holding the bucket. The picture on the right is a larger model of skid steer shot from the front of the cab. You can see there's a very little ability to see out the back of the skid steer. The window directly behind you serves as an escape hatch in case you're pinned in the machine from the front. This window offers a very limited view. The ability to effectively see can also be inhibited by dirty glass, and all machine glass should be cleaned to maintain a clear view. The telehandler's blind spot is much like that of an excavator. The right side of the operator's field of vision is limited due to the telescoping arm of the machine. The blind spot behind the machine is also fairly large at almost 50 feet. This is due not only to the arm that's mounted at the rear. Like all equipment, some models are different, and the arm is mounted directly at the back and extends over the cab instead of beside it. As you can see, the boom inside the cab, even when down, restricts all view of the ground outside the right side of the telehandler. The occupational health and safety regulations is very specific when it comes to training of workers in section 19 and what employees are to be trained in regarding power mobile equipment in sections 154 and table 14.1. When operating equipment, it's imperative that operators are trained in the blind spots of each piece of equipment and have time to learn how different operations and environments can change their field of view. Using signalers whenever possible to direct the movement of operators will help avoid an incident. Remember, communication is key. Having everyone on site wear high-vis clothing is not only a good practice, but is the law. And never assume that you have been seen. Never try to sneak past a piece of equipment that is running, as a lot of them move very quickly and without warning. Whether you are operating or not, make eye contact and using hand signals with workers passing by equipment is a vital form of nonverbal communication used to keep everyone safer on site. I'd like to thank everyone for joining us today. If you have any questions about this or any other safety-related topics, please don't hesitate to contact an SCSA safety advisor. Thanks.
Thank you for that presentation, Mike. A lot of great information in there. Myself, I do believe I need to check my mirrors on my personal vehicle. Do I see my vehicle in my side mirrors? It's a very, good takeaway for at home, taking safety home, not just on the job site. So we're going to go to our question and answer segment. So we do have a few here. I will start. First question here is about training. Why don't I see the class under online training? Jaria, do you have some insight on this one?
I see the question here, and unfortunately, I don't understand exactly which class you're looking for. But all the classes that we're currently offering, if you are on scsaonline.ca currently, at the very top, there's a few tabs there. If you go under courses, the very first selection you'll have is schedule/calendar, and that's what's going to list to you what is currently available. We do only have the classes scheduled right now up until the beginning of June. So if there is a class you're specifically looking for, please email us directly or get a hold of one of the training staff, and we'll be sure to answer the question a little bit more specifically.
Okay, thank you. Actually, if I can share my screen here, I will show you where that is. So here is the screen of our website. When you go to courses and you go to schedule calendar, you'll see that it has all the courses here. You can choose the course you're looking for, and then if you want to see what's available online, click on the instructor-led online training, and that will bring it up. You can also just scroll down on the page and see our calendar, and you'll see them on the side, and you can click on them and register that way as well. So I hope that does help. I'll click on this one just to show you. It'll bring up where you can register and then submit.
Thanks, John.
Thank you. Next question I have is, will your demonstrations be available online to watch? This is talking about the safety demonstrations. Justin?
Absolutely. I'm not sure exactly when we'll be releasing those, but we did do some recording of our demos with the head, hand, and eye demo and ladder demo as well. So when these are available, we'll obviously, we'll let you know. And you can book your demos in with a safety advisor, and the safety advisor will use whatever platform you're comfortable with, whether it's Zoom or Teams, and we'll conduct the demos, show the video, and give you all the applicable information during the toolbox meeting, safety meeting demonstration.
Thank you, Justin. That's going to be a great service we can give to our members, since we're not going out and giving demos directly on site. Next question. I am not very good with computers. Is there someone to help me getting my documentations through for C-Corps? So we do have that C-Corps remote audit being done, and is there some assistance with that?
I can take that one, or at least start the process on this. What will happen is, once you're registered for a C-Corps auditor, you'll be given coordinates for an FTP site to upload your documentation to. And there is already a set file structure in there to make it easier to upload for the companies, and as well for the auditor to actually review the documents once he's going through everything. In terms of support, prior to uploading, and even actually as you begin uploading, you can contact an advisor, and they will give you some assistance with this. If you run into any technical problems during the upload itself, our program services administrative staff will be there to help you, and you can email them at scsaprograminfo@scsaonline.ca. And then once you're actually in the audit, the auditor, if he's missing some documentation, he'll be chatting back and forth with the representative from the company as the audit is going on. And if he needs additional information, he can ask for it, and he'll also be able to help you through the upload process. Roger, did I miss anything?
The only thing that you missed, we'll be contacting them prior and that they're to the audits, and that they're to make sure that all the documentation's in place. And we'll be going through, we're going to be using the Teams, and we're going to be sending them an email and everything. and asking a request for them to come in and join us with teams. And so this way we'll be able to talk face to face, and maybe then we can also guide them to make sure that they're getting all the documentation that's needed for the audit.
And just one more thing to add. So when we talk about Microsoft Teams, that is the platform that we use here. The clients do not have to have Teams installed on their computers. All they have to have is a camera and a microphone and a computer, and we're good to go. There's a very quick interface that has to be downloaded. It takes like 5 seconds, and then you're set up and ready to go.
Kelly and Roger, very good information now that we are getting ready for all these remote audits, and just having all your documentation organized to begin with is step number one, and then contacting one of us advisors to help you organize it and which files we'd like to see them scanned into to make the process a lot easier. Okay, go to our next question. I'm working on my manual for course submission. Do you have any pointers on the harassment policy?
I'm sorry, but to be honest with you, contact your advisor in your area because they're the ones that do the manual builds, and they can give you the forms and everything else like that to make sure you.
Yeah, Joanne, if I may, just like Roger had mentioned, contacting us, we've had all of our forms go through a big process with the auditors. So it's everything will be completely fitting to regulations, and we can make sure that we send that out to any company that needs it right away.
Yes, thank you, Roger and Justin. Like they said, contact us. We do have a harassment policy that does meet legislative requirements and core requirements, and compare it to what you have in place and make any adjustments with that. Next question. With COVID-19, is there any specific laws that I need to follow with my vehicle or my fleet of vehicles and power mobile equipment into regarding of cleaning? I could always answer this one as well. We did do a couple presentations on COVID-19 protocols, and there is some suggestions, not suggestions, but you should be cleaning in between users and making sure that everything is wiped down. I won't talk about PME, or making sure only one person is using that and using a piece of equipment and following proper cleaning procedures. And there is a whole section as well on vehicles, on having one driver, having the driver open the doors, having only one passenger in the back if possible, opening the windows. All those are pointers and requirements are listed in the protocols for COVID-19 that we have on our website. So you can go there and go to the government page as well. They do have resources.
I'll supplement with that. There's two aspects that we're trying to control with the vehicle, and it's contact surfaces. So any common contact surface, glove box, steering wheel, shifter, door handles, all those things need to be, considered, and maybe even you want to create a sanitization checklist for a vehicle specifically to make sure that between users that the vehicle is being cleaned properly for those contact surfaces. The other aspect is going to be the physical distancing that we're trying to maintain. So if your question is specific about a specific amount of people in a vehicle, and that I know our standardized protocol and one of the recommendations is that 2 people in a vehicle is maximum is a good idea. I know a lot of companies are even just going to a single-use vehicle for that purpose, and then having someone in the driver's seat and then someone in the passenger rear seats to try to maintain as far possible as away from each other as possible. So there is different other methods as well. Things to consider: you can contact an advisor or go to that standardized protocol document on our website and do some reading yourself as well.
Hey, Joanne. Just to add to what Mike had said as well, on our website, just speaking of contact sanitization checklists, we do have one available on our website. It has a few sections that pertain to vehicles, like vehicle door handles, equipment seat belts, switches, levers, things like that, that would pertain more to power mobile equipment. But just by looking at this list, if you were to download the list, convert it, you could definitely make this an editable document. We can always help you with that. You come up with a list of all parts of your vehicle specific to that make and model or power mobile equipment. We can help you design something, or you can design it yourself to meet your needs that are specific to your company.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Justin. Very great points on this question. I do have another question here about equipment operator. I have an operator who continues not to wear his seatbelt. Do you have suggestions on how to proceed?
That's an interesting question. It's often in industry, it's often perceived as the slow-moving vehicles or things like that. I know that there's been a large focus for the years I've been in construction on forklift seatbelts, for example, is one example of a seatbelt that commonly doesn't get used. So, but if you think about it, if I'm driving in a forklift and I have an abrupt stop because my fork catches on something, or I contact something, I hit a concrete bollard or something, and I have an immediate stop, I will probably do a sort of I'll be kissing the mast of the machine or the steering wheel, which definitely is a huge hazard. Not to mention in any kind of power mobile equipment, there is always a risk of rollover. And if something happened, for example, back to the forklift scenario, and there was a rollover in a forklift, or it just kind of lays down on its side, well, forklifts have a huge weight capacity. They have a counterweight in them, and they weigh a lot. So my first reaction may be to jump from the machine if I don't have a seatbelt on, or even if I have a seatbelt on, I may want to, like, it starts going over, I may want to jump. Now, statistics show that if I jump from a forklift and I jump out and I'm laying on the ground next to the forklift, the mast of the machine, not the mast, sorry, the rollover protection or the roof structure will come down and probably contact me, and then that could be a fatal incident. Slow moving, fast moving machinery, all of them, seatbelts are mandatory and required, and there's a lot of data out there to suggest the safety behind them. So highly recommended and required as well.
Great information on seatbelts and power mobile equipment, and some suggestions to help your workers, because it's mandatory to wear them, is have your disciplinary measures in place and follow through with that. Sometimes the warnings and stuff mean so much, but when you start documenting disciplinary action, that may be one way you can get them to fall in line with your health and safety program. Next question. I don't seem to find power mobile equipment course from SCSA. Do you have it anymore?
Joanne, am I able to do a share screen here to show how to get to the online portions of it?
Yes.
If you're currently on our website here, scsaonline.ca, as previously mentioned by Joanne, if you go up to the courses section, about the fourth one down there, you'll see online training. If you click the very first option there, construction health and safety courses, it'll take you down to the powered mobile equipment courses that are listed here, starting with aerial lifts all the way down to transportation of dangerous goods. Just a quick note to remember though, these are theory only courses. So these are, if this is what you're looking for, that's where you'll find that. Any additional ones will be shown where Joanne had pointed us to earlier for the instructor-led online courses. But for power mobile equipment, hopefully this is what you were looking for. But if not, again, and you need a little bit more detail or clarification, please contact us directly and we'll be able to assist as best as we can.
Thank you, Jaria. Yes, we do have some theory-only classes. Go ahead, Justin.
Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you. On our last topic on seatbelts, I just really wanted to push this forward. It took me a second to find it. But in the Act of Regulations, under Regulation 158, it states that an employer or contractor shall ensure that an operator of a unit of power mobile equipment uses a seatbelt or other restraining devices required by subsection 157. So just to put it out there that, like Joanne, you had mentioned the disciplinary policy. This isn't just something that's a requirement set out by companies. This is a requirement set out by law. This is something that they have to do.
Thank you, Justin. I'm going to go on another question here regarding core audits. You mentioned core audits will be resuming in June. How will observations and employee interviews be conducted?
Okay, I'll take that one because Roger hasn't had the opportunity to even test this out yet. We did do a small test last week with the company, and we did the observations using Teams. Teams can be done on your cell phone, walking around, and basically it's like the auditor is beside you, except that they are virtual and you're holding them on the phone, and the auditor will point out what he wants to see, what he wants you to show him on the phone. And the test that we did worked quite well. We do have a backup plan in place for those circumstances where we might not have a data connection, or it's just not feasible to take a cell phone onto that site. So we do have a plan in place for that, but our first go-to is going to be doing the observations via remote video conferencing.
That's great. Yeah, the auditors will be there with you, beside you virtually. That's great. The next question here. What PPE am I required to wear while operating forklift, skid steers, and lifts? And can you be fined for not wearing it if it's required?
That's an excellent question. There's a lot of companies that, for example, they have policies in place for hard hat use inside of cabs of vehicles and stuff like that. And they have basically an exclusion because they recognize that sometimes in a power mobile equipment or in something that a piece of equipment, power PPE, such as a hard hat, may obstruct your ability to maneuver that vehicle in a safe manner. Maybe because of shoulder checking or just a limited view or a limited space in the cab. Typically, besides that, if gloves are getting in the way, something like that, or your gloves are dirty, and that a company specific policy on what to do with PPE inside of given pieces of equipment, I would say would be prudent. It would be pertinent, sorry, to be doing something like that. Another thing to consider that the minute you have to get out of that piece of equipment, now you're on site, you're running a skid steer, and you got to get out of the bucket, and you're stepping out onto an active construction site where PPE is required. The minute you get out of that equipment, you want to be adhering to all PPE requirements at that point. So how are you storing your PPE while in the equipment? That kind of stuff all comes into play, because you can't just take it off and leave it in the job trailer and then get out on site. You're running around in your equipment, need to get out, tie up a load, do something like that, and you don't have it on you. So requirement in a cab and requirement outside of a cab may be two different things, but each of them must be followed, I would say, 100% of the time. So yeah.
Thank you, Mike. That's great. Really good information. It was a good question.
Yeah.
The next one is regarding auditor course. I just took the auditor course, and I'm wondering what I need to do to keep my course up to date. Jaria, did you want to answer this one, or Kelly?
I can do it. Juria, if you have anything to add in, you can jump in after me. So once you've taken your auditor course, within 8 months of taking that course, you will have to submit your self-audit and have it reviewed and passed by one of our program auditors. Once that's complete, every 3 years, you need to submit a maintenance audit. Now, if you're working for a company that is core certified, you can submit that core audit as your maintenance audit. If not, you'll have to find another company to do it on. And then before that 3-year period is up, you'll have to take the online auditor recertification course to maintain your certificate. So basically, pass your self-audit, do your maintenance audit, and then do your auditor recert every 3 years.
Thank you, Kelly. Does the SCSA still sell act and regulation books? If not, where can I purchase one?
The Saskatoon office does not sell the acts and regulations anymore, but if you did want to get a copy that you're able to print off, you can find that it was previously called the Queen's Printer. It's now been changed to Publications Saskatchewan. So if you look up on that website there, you're able to find the portions that you are required or prefer to print out and use. But also you can reach out to one of us here and we'll be able to send over a PDF copy of that as well.
Thank you, Daria. I do have another question here that was asked earlier this week, and it is it better to register for Core or C-Core before taking classes, or can I take some classes before I register?
I guess that one's me again. You definitely can take classes before you register. There's no requirement for you to have to register in order to be able to take the courses. And some people like to do that just so that they have an idea of what all they're going to have to do to get ready to start the core process. So yes, I would definitely, if that's the way you want to go, I would encourage that.
I'll supplement on that too, Kelly. From an advisory services standpoint, the earlier you engage with an advisor, I would say would be to your advantage. Doing a lot of things based on the criteria of the program, you can look that stuff up on our website. You can get started on those things, but to get ahead of the I don't want to say curve, to get ahead of the jump start in it, I think that contacting an advisor, if you're thinking about Core or C-Core, or even the NCSO or HSA program, contacting an advisor, devising a plan before starting to move forward may be advantageous to get a good look at the what you're doing at timelines, things like that, because once you register, you have an 18-month period, and then so you got to look at that 18-month period and say, what time of year am I going to have active job sites? So if you're a seasonal company and you apply and it looks like you're going to be potentially doing an audit in the middle of winter, but your construction sites are in the summer, then your timeline may be off, and there is steps you can take prior to registering to be able to set up your timeline accordingly. Not to mention, when you're taking the classes, safety management, safety audit, or some of these core required classes, these are setting you up for the core program, and also setting you up to be able to devise a manual for your company to be able to then implement and do all the stages of that and prep you for an audit. In that, we do have the manual build process, and that manual build process typically gets initiated right after you're done taking safety management and safety auditor, so that you have a good idea of what we're looking at. So when we go into that manual build process with an owner or a manager of your company, that we're all kind of on the same page, and you're ready and you're able to devise the right frequencies, the right paperwork and stuff like that for your company from an informed standpoint. And a lot of times when I work with a company, we do that safety management, we do safety auditor, and then soon after that, we're looking at that manual build piece so that all that information is fresh and current. And then it makes it much nicer to then devise and then implement that program.
Thank you, Mike. I do have another training question. What is the cost of online training? Maybe we can expand on the cost of our usual online classes compared to our instructor-led training.
I honestly can't answer this confidently. I don't do much when it comes to the billing or the questions for that. I focus a lot on just the trading part. So unfortunately, you would have to contact another department, and I'm not even sure which one for that question. Sorry.
Sorry, Kelly, go ahead.
Yeah, if you call our office, they'll be able to help you out with what the cost is. The cost varies, depends on whether or not you're a member. So the best thing would be to either send an email to info@scsaonline.ca, or sorry, I got that wrong, info@scsaonline.ca, or just give our office a call and they'll be able to help you out.
Thank you. I do have one question here. I'm down to almost no employees at this time. We're struggling to complete all our documentation. Is this relevant for my manual? Will it be an issue for my audit coming up this year? So I guess with the process of not having a lot of employees, what can we put in place to maintain some documentation?
As long as the documentation is in place, like there's going to be hard to, because of the situation of COVID-19, we're going to be, when we do audits, we're going to be looking at that too. So that's something that I wouldn't be too worried about as of yet. But as long as you're doing your toolbox lock safety meetings and everything else with the people that you do have in place, you should be okay. And when we go out to do the core audits or C-core audits, I think that we, you know, you have everything all in place for that. Just maintain it all and keep it up, and that's what all you can do right now at this time.
Thank you, Roger. And if you need any help with that, again, you can call one of the advisors. We're here to help you with your programs and when situations arise, and we can help give you some pointers. We're almost at the end of today's segment, but I do want to go over a couple things. Next week on Tuesday on Ask the Advisor, we are going to have Ed joining us, and we have some exciting news coming up in our technology and department, where we're coming up with new technologies to help our members. So there will be a presentation on that. So you're going to want to join us for that presentation. As well as next Thursday, Kelly will be joining us again with our senior auditor as well. And we're going to have a presentation from them concerning audits and the remote process. So we have a lot of questions that we haven't got to today, but a lot of them we're going to be going over next week on Thursday's segment. So stay tuned, join us on Tuesday for some exciting news with the SCSA, how we're helping our members through technology, as well as our remote core and C-core audits and what that looks like on Thursday. So that's exciting. So you want to stay tuned, and every week is something different. Every time we do the SCSA, there's always something new. There's great questions here. I may have a couple more I can get to, maybe one more. Can I train my employees on equipment in-house? It's a good question.
Yeah, this is a short question with a very long answer that we don't have time to completely dive into. However, where it starts is in table 14.1 of the Act and Regulations. So this table brings you through everything that you need to train your workers on a piece of power mobile equipment. However, it starts with a competent and qualified operator to do the training. So you want to make sure that that person that's conducting that training has been deemed competent not only by the person with the highest degree of control of the company, but also an outside agency. And if you read through those regulations, there's a lot to kind of pick through when it comes to training people. But most pieces of power mobile equipment can be trained from the inside. The one big one obviously is when it comes to cranes, right? This requires separate training and qualifications. So yeah, it definitely contact an advisor. We can run you through the entire system on how to train your employees on power mobile equipment. And our online course can be applied to the theory portion of that training.
Thank you, Justin. And that brings us to time. Thank you again to all our panelists. And we hope to answer more of your questions coming up next week. If you do need an answer and want to talk to us sooner than that, please contact us at the SCSA. We'll be more than happy to help. Thank you again.